Welcome to Arizona Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Helen Gibson, and you're watching Verde Valley TV. So glad that you joined us today. Starting a business can be cumbersome, a lot of details. We're talking budgets, HR, storefront, business plan, marketing. We're going to be talking about all those things today on Arizona Business Spotlight. So don't go anywhere. Get your pen and paper ready. Get ready to learn. We'll be back in just a moment. First, Orkin, pest control down to a science.
Orkin has pest control down to a science.
When your business chooses Orkin's Precision Protection Program, you get a tailored pest control program for your specific industry and environment.
Your business can benefit from over a century of experience, training, and scientific knowledge that define the Orkin man.
Maximum protection, minimum exposure, backed by one of the industry's most comprehensive guarantees.
Choose your locally owned and operated Northern Arizona Orkin and get more than an exterminator. Get an expert.
Back on Arizona Business Spotlight. So glad you joined me today. Joining me in studio is founder and director of Circle of Life Alzheimer's Homes, Susan Wilichowski.
Thank you. Yes.
So Wilichowski is
Polish.
Polish. My married name is Klepsa, and it's Bohemian. So I think we're going to have some interesting things to talk about. You know, it's the old country, and you know, talking about what is it in our journey of life toward the end of our life. And my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2010. He passed away last year. And the one thing that I had always, you know, told people, it's a very cruel disease. But in a conversation I had with you at lunch, it all of a sudden became an opportunity to give grace and dignity to people with Alzheimer's, and not look at it like my own personal loss, but, you know, continue celebrating their life, and just a beautiful reflection of how you go about doing that.
We are small private homes, so the most we have is 5, maybe 6 people. So they're getting constant one-on-one care. So it's not the normal institutionalization. They're going out to get their hair done. We're taking them out to lunch. We go for walks. We go for car rides. So it's a whole different way of the dignity and self-respect for the last 18 months of their lives.
You know, I made a reference about just our well, mine by marriage, but your own personal DNA. But I've traveled a lot, and I noticed that European countries, Eastern European countries, they celebrate their elders, the Greek culture and other ones, and you'll see multi-generationals in a home. So not everyone is able to do that, but now you're providing a way for people to be able to have community.
And we're allowing the families, instead of being the caregivers, we're allowing them to be the wives, the husbands, the daughters, the sons that they can't do when they're at home, and worrying about getting the caregivers in there. So we all become one big community. The families use each other as their own support groups. They become friends at the end. Everyone's concerned with those people in the home, with our family members.
You know, you've hit on a really good point. We want to care for our family members, and we mean well, but we're not trained professionals. And I know, as you know, my mother and I for a few years tried to be that primary caregiver for my father, and it was exhausting, and it did start to wear, and still the opportunities, like you're saying, to enjoy that family member.
They become upset, and it's a normal feeling to be upset. You've been with your loved one for 50, 60 years, and this isn't what you planned. This isn't anything that you planned. And what ends up happening is 75% of the caregivers end up sicker than our clients or our loved ones. So they're the ones who probably end up passing before their dementia or Alzheimer's, or they are just exhausted. They've lost weight. They're depressed. And a big sign of it is they try to hide everything from their families, from their children. They don't want them to know that dad doesn't remember. So they start to take over everything, the conversations, they take over everything when the kids come. Maybe you won't be visiting as much because they don't want you to see their loved one failing. And that generation is very, very private. They don't want you to know that there's an upset or something's going on. Right. So most kids don't even realize until it is too late.
Right. And, you know, we had lunch together a while back, and that's why...
That was a great lunch.
It was a great lunch.
It was a great lunch.
And I was so adamant about you coming on the show, Arizona Business Spotlight, for a couple reasons. One, obviously, I believe that anybody that runs a business has some wisdom that people can glean from, especially a professional like you and successful, because you have homes in...
I have homes in New Jersey where I started, and I drove cross country by myself. My family is still in New Jersey, my husband, my granddaughter, and my other kids. But the granddaughter does take precedence. I have such a passion, and I know that this is the way of the future, and this is how it should be done. This is how we should treat our elders, and especially with Alzheimer's and dementia. And I have a home in Atlanta that is now opening.
Right. And then here locally we have
Sedona, and I have 2 in Prescott.
Right.
So, and I'm looking for the 4th.
So if somebody is interested in collaborating, one, that we'll talk about that in a minute, but being part of this and maybe facilitating their own home, they can get in contact.
Oh, I'd be more than happy. I'd be more than happy to, yes.
And I think that there are people out there that are entrepreneurs and they're innovators and they want to open a business, and you know, they don't want to open up a fast food restaurant or this or that, but they want to do something in healthcare, and they have a passion for helping our seniors, and those especially with Alzheimer's. And so you would be a great mentor for them.
It's so rewarding, and it's nice to see the process of the dignity and the self-respect to go on, and to the families to feel peace and tranquility as they pass away. Because our homes are usually the last 18 months to 2 years. They're usually the ones, and I hate to keep saying they're the ones, that have behavioral or combative problems, and usually that stems from where they're being taken care of, maybe not being able to conform to the institutional. Not all of us can conform. I know I certainly will never be able to conform. I'm an out-of-the-box thinker, and a lot of us are, this generation. And there are 76 million of us baby boomers that are coming, and they're calling us the silver tsunami. So there's never going to be enough places or help. So we've got to change everything around.
You know, you've coined a phrase, and you said that at lunch, and I think you need to write a book called Silver Tsunami. Oh, it is coming.
It's coming, and no one is prepared. They think they're prepared. And Alzheimer's and dementia, it's going to be at least 26 million of those 76 are going to have this disease. And no one is ready for it. Again, I do the person-centered care. That's why we do only 5 or 6. We love for married couples to stay together. They don't have to be separated. They can stay with each other through the process. Or the Eden alternative, which is total person-centered. We get in there. We go to their world. We're not making them come to ours. So we're in their world. We do what their world wants. We don't say you have to get up at 8 o'clock and be at a meal. Do what you want to do. We're here for you. And the combativeness and the behavior problems and the family can breathe a sigh of relief. And we have great nurse practitioner in Sedona who's wonderful, and great nurse practitioner and doctors in Prescott that understand the palliative care. So,
and, you know, we were talking about the nutrition aspect and the other elements, and you're collaborating with a lot of great talent. And so that's one of the hardest things in running a business, is finding, you know, good people, and that the vision connects. And being the founder and director, I love the way that you top down, you know, to give your vision to your people, so that they can continue on with that. And that's, you know, when you have a business, you want to find people that connect
Right.
with what the vision of the owner or the
And it's
founder.
hard sometimes because some doctors and some nurses and some people just don't see it, and they're in their world. But again, we're out of box thinkers.
Right.
Not everybody's the same. Not everybody can be treated the same and do the same things.
I think that's what I appreciate about your model. I work in show business. I always say there's 4 letters in show, there's 8 in business, and never the twain shall meet. But you know, sometimes we focus so much on the show side, the media content creation, that we forget that we're running a business. So I don't want to sound too academic or like, you know, heartless about this, but it is a business at the end of the day. So you can stay in business. And what I mean by that is people that are watching, you said something very critical in the Silver Tsunami, that if somebody's looking to start a business and even multiply that business, this is something that is needed now.
It is needed now, and they're saying in the year of 2025, we're going to have at least 14 million silver tsunamis with Alzheimer's and dementia. And there's not going to be enough places for them to go. So anything with the seniors is where you need to be right now.
All right, Circle of Life Alzheimer's homes, and I love that Circle of Life because that's really what it is.
It's truly the circle. They go. It's truly the circle. You start out when they get to I call it the 4th stage. Everybody has their own stages with the Alzheimer's and dementia, but when they get to the final stages, they truly are age 4, and they start to go down, where they're falling and they're teetering and they're pushing themselves along. Age 2, they're learning to do their thing. 1 is walking, and the eating. It truly is the circle of life. So I know that you want to treat everybody with dignity and self-respect, and as an adult, and the families are still looking at, that's my husband, that's my father, that is to you, but in his world, he's not there.
Right.
So hugs, kisses, love, that is all a part of it. And trying to keep up what their business was. We were constantly going back to, we've had a teacher who graded papers. We just made up our own tests and gave them to her, and she sat there for hours grading tests. So that was her passion. CPA, we put a calculator in front of him with the sheet, and he just did his numbers. So everybody has their own special thing that we can keep them active and going.
I hear customized, and that's another big
yes, and that's all a part of the person-centered care approach and the Eldon alternatives. It's all a part of it.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Circle of Life Alzheimer's Homes. Joining me, founder and director Susan Wilichowski. We'll be back with more Arizona Business Spotlight in just a moment.